Today's video is a quick primer on how you can get to $20,000 per month as a content creator. So the first idea in this, you need to become a consistent creator. What you want more than anything is to become an excellent, consistent creator and express something that is your own voice. I recently read this book, Relentless, by Tim Grover. I had been putting off this book for a long time because I heard a lot of negative reviews about it. People saying that it's overly emotional and doesn't have a lot of thought or analysis or really any hard ideas in it except work hard. But it has a unique quality to it actually. And one of the most profound ideas in the book, the author expresses this idea that none of us can change. We are who we are, and you just have to accept it. You can try to run from it for a time, but there's a line in the book where he says you can make millions of dollars or lose millions of dollars, you can gain a job or lose a job, but at the end of the day, you will be who you are. You're gonna end up coming back to yourself. And in a way, I feel the same way about content, making videos. See, you can run from who you are or run from how you feel called to express things, and you can improve your gear, you can improve your technicality, but the essence of who you are largely stays the same. And I think you want it to stay the same. I want the most me, whatever is the most inherently true to me, quality there is, I want it to be expressed violently outwards. I just want it to be expressed in the best way possible. Really, an entire business model, even Ali Abdaal's multi-million-dollar business model, is just a description box on YouTube. So before we can get them to the description box, we need them to see you show up. The more you show up well, under a model that makes sense for you, that is communicating your essence, the better you'll do. And that's how the whole funnel starts. So I know this first idea is very simple, right? But there's so much that goes into it. Scripting, analysis, reflection, thought power, B-roll, editing. And friends of mine who tried to skip certain stages of the process, like they simply try to make a LinkedIn post that is generated by an AI prompt. You can see how that lack of specificity and lack of inner voice coming through, it actually affects the quality of the product. And so what comes out is less good. So to be a consistent creator and to become confident on camera or confident with your writing or confident putting out a reel, just to simply express your ideas well and know how to package them and know how to put them together and upload often, that's the starting point of all this. In fact, 90% of your effort should be devoted to this. A second idea in this video, that's actually the heart of this entire video, is that the subtext matters the most. What is subtext? So back in the day, when we all would teach YouTube or learn YouTube, we'd talk about figuring out the right title. My first foray into YouTube or learning about YouTube strategy came from this YouTuber, Gillian Perkins. And she basically talked about how you would find a small channel, look for anomaly hits on their channel, like overperforming videos on a small channel, and you try to give your own spin on the same topic. And literally this thing still works today. On my second channel, I uploaded a video that was market research off another small YouTuber, and it's literally overperforming with no editing. It's overperforming on that second channel simply because the market research paid off. So market research, which is to say picking the right title, it's a strategy that everyone used on YouTube 8 years ago to do really well. But now in modern YouTube, everyone knows this tactic. It's still like a good indicator for how you might be able to package a video, but everyone knows this strategy for finding anomaly hit videos. So what matters more than the title and what matters even more than the thumbnail of a piece of content is watch time. And you know what's funny? Unless it's a really, really well-produced video, which most people don't have the capacity to make, it's like a mini documentary, the number one thing that generates watch time in a video is subtext. Subtext is what you are saying underneath what you're actively saying. So for instance, the subtext of every single Captain Sinbad video is power and status. How to gain status, how to gain power. There's a question that I'm asking myself, that I'm answering for myself in a video, and I'm communicating it to you. You just don't know it because I'm not addressing it directly. In the context of cinema, Todd Snyder, he wanted to make Taxi Driver. He wanted to make a modern version of a man who's isolated from the world, suffers from mental illness, and is a loner. Taxi Driver in 2020 would not have performed well at the box office. So he repackaged it and he called it Joker, and it became $1 billion movie. Why? Because the packaging was what it was, but the subtext of the story was actually Taxi Driver, or his modern conception of Taxi Driver. So we see these influences all the time. In the world of screenwriting, sometimes people have given the example of asking yourself before you write a script, what is the biggest problem I'm facing in my life right now? What is the biggest problem? So you take that subtext and you turn it into a metaphor, and it turns into a script. In a similar example, the screenwriter for the movie Seven, which is about a serial killer, and it's basically a detective thriller. with Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman. The subtext of that, it was actually how difficult that screenwriter found living in that city. How difficult he found New York City when he was broke and alone at the time. And his hatred for the city and how grimy it was, it infused itself into the tale of Seven. So Seven really is about a screenwriter's struggle with the city, but he made it so dark and brooding and ultimately made even the philosophy of the film so nihilistic that it gave us a film that was profound. Now, in a less epic context, we're trying to achieve the same thing in a YouTube video, because when the subtext is there, then the video has heart. You're making this thing for you. And your biggest goal is to get people to not click off. More than even an active title, because people will arrive at a title. People will arrive at a thumbnail, or they'll know the game that you're playing. So the game of titles and thumbnails, it's very surface level, and it's something that everyone knows now. That's the only part of YouTube that is oversaturated, the game of titles and thumbnails. But the essence of a man, the essence of a creator, what you're trying to say underneath, what actually speaks to you is so profound. One time, I almost worked with this guy who was going to be a potential client of mine. I asked him on our first initial call, like, what his story was. And I want to respect his narrative, because it really is, there's some trauma and some issues that he was dealing with in their very powerful story. But effectively, we came to the understanding and realization that the question of his life and what he wanted to answer most was something along the lines of escaping the influence of a very toxic person. There was a person in this content creator's life who was not a good influence. But because of financial burden, this content creator was beholden to that other individual. And so really, his greatest foray and the greatest arc that he was on in his own life was actually to improve his career. And actually, his mission at the time was to become a US Marshal, which I think is so cool. And I said, listen, man, your content, the subtext of your content is actually about becoming a US Marshal. That's actually the arc you're on. And what you're trying to say underneath your active video, they must be connected to the source of this video. He didn't quite get it, so we didn't end up working together. But it would have been so profound had he gone down that path. Because imagine if you're making a YouTube video about being more productive, right? And on the surface level, you're talking about saving money, being productive, classic personal development topics that you might market research from the audience. How to lock in. You know, that's a really common market research title. The Great September Lock-In. Lock-in is just kind of like a meme and a title that we all use because we understand the game of YouTube. The subtext of what this creator would be saying is, I need to lock in so that I can become a US Marshal, so I can fucking kill it, so I can escape the influence of this person. See, when that quality is there, it's very hard for people to click off. They can feel it. You know, back in the day, my initial breakthrough with YouTube actually came from semen retention videos. Semen retention. If you're new to my channel, you're like, what the fuck? That's so weird. If you're an OG, or if you've known me at all over these last 7 years on YouTube, you're like, yeah, Nikhil, shut the fuck up. We already know this. You're talking about it all the time. Why did those videos succeed? It wasn't necessarily because of the content itself, because the topic itself is simple to understand. It can be understood in 5 minutes, and the benefits of that practice can be understood in 5 minutes. Why did that content do well? The subtext was incredibly strong. The subtext was, I'm living at home with my parents. I need to become an actor. I can't be such a broke fucking loser all the time. That was genuinely the subtext of every video, and you could feel it bleeding through. This is a big part of what it means to be a consistent creator. You must also be consistently connected to your source, to your power. And even if you become hyper niched and your messaging ends up being the same, you still want that subtext to be present, because without it, the source of every video, the source, the power, the reason you're making it, what you're saying, what you want to do, it just doesn't come through like that. It just doesn't feel right, and everyone can feel it. What makes people bored in a piece of content isn't your lack of B-roll, isn't your lack of editing. Take it from me, I'm 100% proof. So many of videos of mine have had elaborate intro sequences, edited to the nines, and not performed well. Maybe 14,000 views on a channel, but at the time, 580,000 subscribers. Whereas other videos, very simply communicated, but it's me shirtless in a rainstorm, yelling about, not jerking off, and it did really well. Why? Subtext. There was a reason, there was a heart for making that video. And so whether you're teaching someone to write a fantasy novel, or learn how to code, or save their first 10 grand, you need to keep that present every single video. It gives you heart. It makes you an actor. It makes you something very true. It makes it impossible for people to click off. The third idea of the video, create a product. Now, your products can be multi-tiered. And when I work with people inside my own coaching program, I meet them where they're at. So one thing that, if someone is very sponsor friendly, I will lead them down that path. And it's so quick to get to 20K per month off sponsorships. I literally stumbled my way into 20K months off sponsorships in, when was this? The first time I hit 20K might have been October of 2020. Literally the sponsorships would just come. Like 4 or 5K per sponsorships, a couple of them per month, boom, you're there. With other methods, it might be better to sell your own time, like literally sell your time. One of my clients who was the most successful of all the people I've worked with financially, literally just offers career coaching. So he sells his time, but he does really well with it. The product can be created at every price point, so you can go super expensive, but you can also get to like 20K per month off a $50 product. Because if you get 400 sales per month on a $50 product, the numbers work out. So I meet people where they're at, and the product ideally will emerge out of you. I really think that the segmentation of these ideas matters. So first you want to become a consistent creator, then you want to consistently be able to hit that subtext so that the emotional connection and the drive and the authenticity of a video comes through. And then the product, I find the product just naturally reveals itself to you. It could be a course, it could be a community, it could be a really cheap app. I have a $2.99 app called Transmuted, which I absolutely love.
This is my app. It tracks how many days it's been since I've had my last nut.
The product and 20K per month, it's just a formula. It's such a simple formula. 10 people at 2K, 5 $4,000 sponsorships, a $50 community with 400 members. You'll get there so quick. It'll shock you. I know 20K per month sounds like so much money, but when you're dealing with industries of scale and when you're dealing with media online, even 100 or 300 or 500 views, when created right, it creates something compelling, you know, because then you can actually start to make the formula work in your favor. Idea number 4, outreach and inbound. Outreach is so powerful, but it's very demotivating to pursue. Because I think realistically, the numbers are around 1,000 to 1. What does that mean? For every 1,000 pieces of outreach you do, Instagram DMs, emails, LinkedIn in-mail messages, every 1,000 annoying pieces of outreach you do, you get one very good opportunity. But that opportunity sincerely could be worth 100 grand. So outreach could be reaching out to sponsorships. There was a really wonderful course I took back in the day by Justin Say on how he would look up marketing managers for different brands. So one thing you could effectively do is look on your phone and go to Instagram and see what kind of ads you're seeing on Instagram or Facebook. What ads are you seeing? So I see a lot of like bike related content now. Lacole, Win Republic. I see a lot of Caldera Lab as well. Like this expensive men's skincare product. So the ads that you're seeing, it represents a company that's willing to invest in social marketing. So you can actually find the marketing manager of those companies and just directly reach out to them for a brand deal. And you'll probably have to meet them at the rate that they're at. But this 100% works. Any company that you see, for a while there, I saw these half tights, Wallaco half tights, all over my feed on Instagram. So I just reached out and said, hey, could I get a deal running with you, an affiliate deal? Outreach can get you a brand deal. Outreach can get you a coaching client. So you can use your social media as a portfolio and just say, hey, here's what I've done. Would love to talk to you about working together. And so even if you don't get crazy good views, it's useful to learn how to make compelling content, because even if your views aren't fantastic, the actual page that you have, what you put together, it represents a portfolio. So even in the last season of my life, you know, my views have been less compared to 2023, 22, and 2020 especially. But on a technical level, I have gotten stronger. Sometimes the views don't represent technical capacity in a really strong way. So my technical capacity has gotten stronger. I've made a short film. I've done a bunch of elaborate production work. So my capacity as a director and a videographer and a filmmaker in general has gotten much stronger. So even if the views aren't what they used to be, if you click on a piece of content, you'd be able to see the growth. It's so good for leveraging brand deals, connections, whatever it might be, if you can invoke a piece of outreach with the content you make. So that's also a skill worth learning. You'll hit 20K months consistently when you have an impartial look at outreach. You're just willing to do the outreach and you're not emotionally tied to it. So consider that in mind. And then inbound. What do I mean by inbound? When you make content and when it's good enough, people will start reaching out to you. Once again, this is not super strongly tied to the views. Once people are inside a video, once people are watching a piece of content or engaging with a piece of content, they don't care how many views it has or how many subscribers you have. Not really, at the end of the day. What they care about is how they feel once they're inside the video. If you're doing things well, you will get inbound. And this brings me very quickly to the last idea of the video. Continue the story of your life. Never allow things to get too meta. A $20,000 a month is really an investment in the man or woman underneath the piece of content that's being created. It's not necessarily in just the offer, because the faith in the offer comes from the individual. Testimonials do help. Your sales skills, your marketing, the product you actually have built, all of these factors do help. But more than anything, I have found that when people buy a product online, it is because they have faith in the man. They have faith in the creator. So in order to continue to give trajectory and hope to that faith, you must continue to work on yourself. However you see fit, you must continue to work on yourself. It could mean that you get yourself six-pack abs. It could mean that you pursue becoming an Ironman all-world athlete, even though essentially, certain objectives are meaningless. But whatever it might be, you must continue your arc, because that's what gives you legs. And it also gives you a better story to tell. So this is effectively a very quick rundown with the rules I have in mind for how to get 20K months. The actual hard metrics of it are very simple. It's a formula. So the formula is not so interesting to me as how confident you become as a creator and how much you're able to infuse that subtext and truth into the work you make. For those of us who are willing to do so, to us I say greatness is coming. We'll catch you next week.